Konnichiwa. Today we are going to make, well, we're having Naruto night tomorrow where we make some fancy ramen. So just showing you some of the ingredients I'm going to do. A lot of it I do a day in advance. I'll explain why. But there's basically 5 parts to actual ramen. Even though it originally came from China, ramen is kind of a staple of Japanese cuisine now. So the 5 staples are the broth, the tare, noodles, toppings, and then the aromatic oil is what produces that umami smell and flavor. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing the tare. So the tare is actually the flavor of the ramen. A lot of people call it the soul of the ramen. So what I'm going to do first is I have a piece of ginger here. I'm just going to roughly scrape it in different areas. I explain why I don't have to clean it up the whole way, but just rough it up a little bit. And then I'm just going to chop it in a couple different places. Probably cut that root part off. And then I'm going to smash it. Yeah. Let's see if I can smash. There we go. Just to get it to release some of the flavor. And if you can see this pot over here, let me put the pot right there. I'm basically going to add this to the pot, skin and all. I have some mushrooms that I chopped up earlier. No particular type of mushrooms, usually shiitake, but I didn't like the look of the ones they had in there today. I'm also going to do, let's do half of garlic. Well, let me try to go through this way. There we go. That's smarter. Look at all this mess, right? What is he going to do with all this? Well, guess what? Throw it all in the pot. You're probably like, what the heck? How are you going to eat all that in your ramen? Well, we're not. Next, we're going to roughly chop some green onions. We'll take off the pot like this. Grab all this, put it in the pot. Show you in here. We're going to add about a half a cup of soy sauce. And 1, 2. I'm going to use, this is, there you go, some sake. Of course, I get these from a local Asian store. They really don't have the kind that I like at a normal grocery store. So half and half on that. I'm also going to use, well, let's use a different measuring spoon. I'm going to use a tablespoon of mirin. You know, a little sloppiness, that'll be okay. If you notice the bottle, that was my rice vinegar, sorry. So a tablespoon of rice vinegar and also a tablespoon of mirin. There we go. Last but not least, I'm going to add, about half a box of some unsalted chicken stock. Don't want to use the salted one since we have the soy sauce in there and everything. Now, we are going to make a clear broth, and I'll show you that in a minute, but it's going to be chicken flavor. We usually get some pork shanks and cut them up and slow cook them for quite a while, about an hour. If you want the cloudy milky ramen that you see like Naruto or someone eats all the time, the Ichirachu ramen or however you say it, you see Naruto do, then you would let it do maybe 3-4 hours till the bone marrow actually comes out of the pork. But today we're going to use chicken and chicken fat, some of the fat of that. And also tomorrow, before the meal, I'll be making chaozu, which is pork belly. Sometimes you see people roll it up. I like to slice it in strips. That's the way my wife likes it too. I'll be doing that tomorrow though, before I start putting the ramen together. Next, we're going to start on the broth. We can do that a day early as well, because what we're going to do is put it in the refrigerator, let it cool, and there will be some fat, a little bit of fat on the top of the broth. I'm going to skim that off and help make the aromatic oil. That's done tomorrow too. So first, you're going to take a whole onion and just chop it in half, and you're going to put the skin and everything in there. If you don't, it's going to be clear. This actually will give it a yellowish tint, golden tint to the ramen, or to the broth. And last but not least, I couldn't find any bone ones. Those would have been fine. I would have chopped them in half to release some of the marrow flavor. But this one, these thighs have plenty of fat on it. I'm going to put 2 of these in here as well for the broth. See, some good fat. And let me go wash my hand before I continue. Now for the broth, you're not going to add anything else to it. All the flavor at the bottom of your ramen bowl, and that's why you mix the ramen bowl before you eat it, is going to be the tare, the soul of the ramen. This though is going to be our base for our broth. So I'm actually going to turn it on high. Once it gets to high, I'm going to turn it down to a low simmer and cover it. And I'll probably let that, I'll just wait. I really have to fill it out. Sometimes it'll be an hour. I want the fat to start separating. Some of the blood and stuff that's in there will form gray foam on top, and I'm going to skim that off and not use that though, and I'll show you. So next, we're going to start the ramen eggs. So the ramen eggs are soft-boiled eggs, but not same day soft-boiled eggs. They actually let them set sometimes 2-3 days. My wife don't mind me doing it for 1 day. It makes it firmer, and it makes the yolk more custardy, which is what we want, is what we're aiming for. These have been sitting out at least 40 minutes till they're nice and room temperature, because I do refrigerated mine. It's kind of an American thing to refrigerate your eggs. Some countries I've been in never refrigerate their eggs, but then again, they use them probably a little quicker and more often than we do. So the first thing you want to do to get a perfect ramen egg is the fat side, the bottom side. You're going to take a little stick pin, and you're actually going to poke it in there. You're like, what? It's going to leak out when you put it in the water. No, it sure won't. The pressure won't allow that, but see the little pinhole? And you're going to do that to all 3 of the eggs at the bottom. So one thing I did off camera, I forgot. I guess filming makes me forgetful, but some of those big chunks of garlic in here, I fished them out with a spoon, and then I smashed them up to release more flavor. So I also got my ice bath ready for my eggs. What we're going to do is 6.5 minutes exactly on the clock, and then 6.5 minutes in the ice. So the water is starting to boil, and here we go. Just going to put them all in at once. They all have the holes poked in. And as you can see, nothing's leaking out, nothing's shooting in. I also wanted to show you the tare. If you can see the little bubbles popping up every few seconds, but it's not boiling at all. This is what I want to do. I can stir it once in a while too. The other thing you want to do is, let me grab one. So for your eggs, see how they're setting in one position, they don't really move around. You want to stir them with a chopstick or a fork or spoon or something that's not going to crack them. You stir them around a little bit, because what we want is a perfectly round ramen egg. We do not want that big dent a lot of times that forms in the bottom or the top of an egg. So every, I don't know, I'd probably do it every 30 seconds. I stir it around. Okay, it has been 6.5 minutes exactly. Let me grab these eggs together. We're going to put them in this ice bath. Now, we're going to do 6.5 minutes for that. Do 7 minutes real quick. Start that. And what are we going to do while it's in the ice bath? I'm going to stir it every once in a while as well. Every 30 seconds should be fine. Okay, we are going to skim some of this off. If you don't have a almost relatively flat skimmer, you can use a little spoon or something would work too. You see how that works? It picks it right out. And this is just part of, you don't want part of your broth. Blood goo is not part of ramen broth. All right, it has been 6.5 minutes, so let's get these out of here. So normally you do a hard-boiled egg or maybe a soft-boiled egg on its side. For these, you want to put it right in the pinhole. You want to crack it right at the bottom. And you do have to be careful, but carefully peel it. Sometimes you'll let a little water get on it. it'd be nice for tomorrow after we soak them and marinate them overnight in the tare. So the tare, we're gonna let these set out for a few minutes. That one kind of got a little bit of a shape there. I didn't stir it as much as I normally do. If you stir it consistently, just a slow one, and it's only 6.5 minutes, you definitely will have a perfectly round egg with no blemishes on it. You won't even get this little bit of indentation there that I got, but that's just from me trying to videotape and do all this at the same time. So we're gonna let these set off to the side. All right, the tare is done. See it there? So what we're gonna do, we got a little container here. I'm putting it in the same little red bucket just in case there's spillage. And then I'm gonna use a concave strainer. So I'm pouring there nice and slow. I'm gonna put everything in there. So look at all that mushed up stuff. All right, and what we're gonna do, the same spoon we scraped the ginger with, we're use a spoon to push down and get every bit of flavor in there. All right, let's take this out. Looks like there's nothing floating in it, as you can see. That's the tare. That's gonna go into the bowl first tomorrow. I'll show you when we put the bowl together. For now, I'm going to set it off to the side, maybe even put it in the fridge for a minute to let it cool down. Then we're going to add the eggs. As you can see, the tare is now cool. It took about 35 minutes for it to no longer be steaming and be cool to the touch. The reason why you do that is because when you put these eggs in, you don't want them to cook anymore. You just want them to marinate in there. That way you're going to get a nice brown outside of your egg here. And let's slowly pour this in without splashing it all over myself, or try to. And you see it has a nice like golden color. So the golden color is not from the water and the little bit of chicken stock. It's from the onion skins. You see the yellow onion skins have turned like almost red in there. I don't know if you can see that or not. Probably not, but trust me. So a little bit's wasting on the outside, but that's okay. I've got more than enough stock. And when we put it in the refrigerator overnight for tomorrow, there will be some fat at the top, but I can use that for the aromatic oil, just like I'm going to use some of the drippings from the chaosu, the pork belly, to help make the oil too. So that's it for today. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator, and we'll continue the video tomorrow. All right, it is the next day. I've cut up the pork belly, chaosu it's called. Chaosu, I'm going to put it into this baking pan. I'm putting the fat side down. We want that to melt and provide us some fat oil or fat juice for our aromatic oil. It's funny because chaosu, I could swore there was a character in Dragon Ball named that. What do you say? Put it in the comments below. Chaosu, I think it was a little prince guy. If I'm wrong, let me know. Okay, now first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little drizzle of soy sauce on each one, just a little bit. There's a lot of flavor in it, so you don't really need to add too much. And then a little bit of pepper. And that's it. I have the oven set at 325, and I'm going to slow cook that for about an hour. Next, we're going to work on this right here. You can get these at Asian stores. It is a rolled tube of fish paste. The actual name of this is Naruto Maki. So that's where Naruto's name came from. See the little symbol there that's on the back of his jacket? I don't know if that's a Leaf Village symbol or just a little symbol you see. All right, I'll be using my Travex knife because I want to get a nice thin. I'm going to actually cut off the end here. But look at that. Isn't that cute? Naruto, and then nice, about this thick. You don't want them too thick. Then my wife, I usually put about, let's see that, 4, 5, 6, and that's it. Next, I pulled my broth after refrigerating all night, and as you can see, there is a little bit of fat, even though we trimmed some out. And I'm just going to scoop that off the sides. See that? And we're going to put that in a little bowl, and we're going to melt this and add some seasoning, and this will be part of our aromatic oil. As you can see, you don't need very much. I pretty much cleaned off the rim. I'm going to put the broth into a pan to reheat it and keep it on a simmer the whole time while we're cooking the other stuff, so it's nice and piping hot when we're ready to pour it over the ramen. Get our green onions, cut it right about there, and then I'm trying to make these very thin. I don't want huge thick pieces, I just want little thin pieces. That's just my oven. Some of them are thick. Those are going to be in my bowl. I like the little thicker chunks myself. Next, we're going to do the green stems of to make a little presentation. So I've showed this before. You just cut it diagonally. I don't know why I'm sawing twice. I'm used to knives that aren't as sharp, I guess. Missed that. All the way up, and then we'll do the other one. Kind of better if you flatten it out a little bit, push down on it. It's easier to get that angle you want. The longer you can get it, the better, actually. And we'll see how it looks. Now the eggs also have been in there actually almost 36 hours. So all right, time to open one of these beautiful brown eggs, and you'll see that it's not quite as runny as it was. It'll still be gooey. We'll slice through it. Some of it will stick on there, and we'll see that, like custard almost. So we're going to cut these open. And move that out of the way. There you go. Sorry. And you can see the broth over here. Nice golden brown. Alright, getting the water starting to boil. So you put this in plain water. These are handmade, not by myself, but by the Asian store where I went to. And then they package them and they freeze them. So they're really good. You can find them at most Asian stores. And we're going to boil them for roughly 3 to 3.5 minutes, and that's all it'll take. Okay, it's time to boil the noodles. So the owners say they recommend about 3 minutes. Ooh, let me get them all in there. My wife actually likes it about 3.5 to 4 minutes though, because she prefers softer noodles, so no big deal. So after 1 hour of cooking at 325, this is the chaosu, the pork belly. It looks like it's pretty well cooked. I'm going to grab some of this oil here, the fat, and put it into the chicken broth. The crust area you see is probably the soy sauce. So that's 1 tablespoon or 3 tablespoons, 4, and I don't think I can get 5, but I add that anyways. You can see that goes into there. Then I'm going to split that. The chicken fat's already melted just at room temperature, but I'm going to put a little bit. There's a little bit in each bowl, as you can see. With my wife's, I'm going to add a little fish sauce, just a teaspoon. And with mine, of course, some hot chili sauce, a whole tablespoon, because you know I like it spicy. Now for the chaosu, it's done in the oven. And I'm going to put it in a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to brown it. You can also do this with, if you have a gas stove, you would just do it over the fire and hold it to get it browned up. Ooh, hot. But I don't have that. I have the electric stove. You could also do it over a Coleman, which I don't feel like doing today. Or you could do it with one of the mini blow torches if you're a super fancy guy or gal. Just letting them get brown on both sides. After about a minute or so, we're going to flip them over. They get a little crunchy on there. And I'm just going to use a fork to do this. I'm not a master of the chopsticks, so let me finish doing it. Alright, those are nice and brown. First thing, I'm going to get my wife's bowl done first. I'm going to grab about, I would say about 4 tablespoons of Tare. Next thing you're going to do is add some noodles. I'm using a fork because, like I said, I'm not an expert with the Next we're going to add some broth. About halfway up the noodles. Then we start putting in the extras. We can put in the Naruto here. There we go for that. We can also put in the ramen eggs. My wife really enjoys these. So I'm going to give her the extra one, even though I had 6 done, I'm going to give her more than I get. Then, next we're going to add a little bit of green onion. A little bit of the fancy ones I did there. There you go. Isn't that cute? We're also going to add a little bit of roasted sesame seeds and nori, which is just dried seaweed basically. There we go. Last but not least, we're going to do her aromatic oil. And now that's my wife's bowl. She has her soup spoon here. She got her fancy dragon carved chopsticks. And I'm sure she is going to love it. Let's take a look at what I made for myself. So here's mine. I'm just adding the aromatic chili oil. I already put some Asian crushed red peppers on there. I don't like the chaozu as much as my wife, so I added some shrimp to mine. So I know this takes a long time, but it sure is fun. And your family will sure enjoy it. You don't have to do it every month, just maybe a couple times a year. Take some time to do that. It's really delicious. Hey, if you stuck with me till this end, till this long, go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to.